On the docket tonight, a case that you may be very familiar with, you should be very familiar with. It was a trial that you saw right here on Court TV, Florida versus Andre Warner. This was a man caught up in a robbery, committing a robbery, and then executing the victim. He was found guilty. So why is it on our docket? Well, it happened right before the COVID shutdown. And the guilt phase went through. But then there's a penalty phase. Life or death for Andre Warner never happened. So now they need to get a new jury and retry the case, but then have the jury just decide whether he lives or dies. He's already been found guilty. Chanley Painter has more.
Finally got justice. Finally.
The family of a young father from Auburndale, Florida, calls it an answered prayer.
He was the sweetest person you could ever think of.
On March 18th, the mother of Adam Hilaire watched through tears as the verdict was read.
As to count one, the defendant is guilty of first-degree murder of Adam C. Hilaire.
Andre Warner was convicted of shooting Hilaire, execution style, during a home invasion in August of 2016. John Hung, the victim's roommate, found his body the next day.
At first, I just thought they beat him up real bad.
The bloody discovery came only hours after Hilaire went on a date with this woman, Haley Bustos. She testified she lured the 27-year-old using the dating website Plenty of Fish.
I really don't care if I spend the rest of my life in prison, as long as he's behind bars too.
Their night at a bowling alley ended in conspiracy. Prosecutors say Warner, Bustos, and two other men, Joshua Ellington and Gary Gray, drove to Hilaire's apartment to rob him.
He was forced to his knees at gunpoint by his assailants, all while he was begging them for his life for the sake of his 5-year-old daughter.
Now, Warner's capital murder trial is at a standstill. The jury was set to return after the guilty verdict to decide his punishment, life in prison or the death penalty. But phase 2 of the trial was halted due to COVID-19 restrictions. And the jury that found him guilty won't decide his punishment. Judge Harb dismissed them at the request of Warner's defense team.
All rise.
Instead, a new jury will be selected to decide if Warner should be put to death for his crimes. It is unusual, but not unheard of.
What decision have you made?
To testify, yeah.
All right, and I've asked you if you're satisfied with that decision, and you told me yes, correct?
Very.
A new jury could view Warner's testimony in a different light if he takes the stand again. During his trial, Warner told jurors he wasn't even at the crime scene and pointed the finger at his co-defendants.
The only people that was there when they left, it was just me, Evelyn, and her brother, I believe, at the time.
When you say they left, who left?
Haley, Josh, and Gary.
Police found several caps stolen from Hilaire's collection in the backseat of Warner's car. Warner said he bought them from Bustos.
She told me that she met some dude that had a box of hats that was selling hats, and she ended up buying them.
All right, what did you do?
So I asked her if she was trying to sell something because they were nice hats. They were decent little hats. So I asked her if she was trying to sell some. She told me she was.
Okay, did you buy a hat or hats?
Yeah, I bought a couple of them.
Juror Cindy Bassford says Warner's testimony worked against him.
He actually hurt himself as far as myself being on the jury. When Andre was on the stand, he spoke of the baseball caps, and when he spoke, he said he had been given money from his girlfriend to buy the baseball hats. And at that point, I didn't find him believable.
When asked what sentence she would have imposed,
I was leaning toward life in prison.
The new jury could decide differently. But Hilaire's mom says she's got the verdict she wanted.
I'm already dying, but I have to forgive. I got to. Because it's not going to do me any good. It's not going to do nothing good for my family either. So I got to.
Incredibly tragic. And he was killed because he was a witness. He witnessed the robbery because he was there, and they killed him to get away with it. I mean, it was crystal clear from the trial, at least from what I saw. All right, let's bring in our special guest. Join us tonight in Clearwater, Florida, criminal defense attorney Jay Hebert. Jay, great to see you. Let's start here. This is a death penalty, right? It's the penalty phase, death penalty case here. Where are we in Florida with the death penalty? I mean, your Supreme Court has gone this way, that way. I'm not even sure what the law is in Florida as we sit here tonight. What is the law when it comes to death penalty? What do prosecutors have to prove? What does the jury have to say? How does it work?
Well, you know, I remember this verdict because we were live covering it with you, and you and I were standing here in awe as we listened to that family and the pain and the comments that you just aired about forgiveness. This woman was incredibly strong. It was a very powerful moment. But in this situation, it's a two-phase process. First is the guilt phase, which happened right at the beginning of COVID. This was literally the last trial that was held in Polk County for quite some time. So the judge has excused that jury panel and panel a new jury panel. So the process will start with jury selection. And what they will do is go through and vet the issues of who can enforce and follow the law. From a prosecutor standpoint, they have to use what's called aggravators. They've got to find things that show that what happened in this crime had aggravation to it. Premeditated already has been proven. From a defense standpoint, they are going to employ and use mitigation, mitigators, as we call them in Florida. So both sides will present their evidence. They may present, a lot of times in cases like this, mental health experts to talk about his upbringing, substance abuse issues, things of that nature. And then ultimately the jury can make that decision, and they in turn make a recommendation to the court. And the court has the ultimate say about whether the death penalty be implemented. It is interesting, Vinny, that your juror that came on just a few minutes ago said she was leaning towards life. That is a really strong indicator. I'll be curious how that plays out in the second phase without hearing the guilt phase.
All right. Do they have to be unanimous? Florida has now we're back to it's got to be unanimous, right?
And the judge has to give that great weight.
Okay. So the judge is not bound by it, but gives it great weight. But the jury's recommendation for death has to be unanimous. If they're not unanimous, do they have to be unanimous for life?
No. First-degree murder carries an automatic life sentence, and I believe that Judge Harp has already sentenced him to life for the other crimes. But there are only two penalties for first-degree murder in the state of Florida. Life imprisonment, which means you come out in a box. There is no parole. There is no good behavior. There is nothing that gets you out. Life means life in Florida, or death by lethal injection, which is the current form that we use here in the state of Florida for putting people to death here.
But when it comes to the verdict, because, you know, years ago we covered the Jodi Arias trial. The jury was not unanimous, so the prosecution got a second opportunity to try to find a unanimous jury to find death. But they came up one or two jurors short in those trials. Here, if this jury does not agree to death, is it automatically life?
The minimum punishment that he can get is life imprisonment. That is absolutely correct.
Okay. Now, Adam Hilaire is the victim here. He was murdered because he was going to be a witness and could identify everyone because they didn't blindfold him when they busted into his house and robbed him. But let me ask you about this defendant, Andre Warner. He testified at his first trial. Do you think he testifies here when his life is on the line?
You know, it's interesting. It's always a tough question, and rarely do we see that be very effective, as you just heard from that juror that said he hurt himself. In this situation, if he comes out and says, I accept responsibility, and I recognize the errors of my ways and ask for mercy, it might be effective. But my guess is at this point, especially in light of the fact that this is a bifurcated trial, if the jury was to recommend death, there's an automatic appeal to the Florida Supreme Court, and there may be some very serious appellate issues. It's happened before, but it is complicated when you have death penalty cases and they are bifurcated and a second jury comes in. And you're absolutely right. At the beginning of this broadcast, you said they're going to almost have to retry the guilt phase in order to determine the penalty phase, because this jury is not going to have the sampling that the first jury had as far as listening to the facts and the gut-wrenching details that happened in this trial.
Now, you don't tell the jury anyone's presumed innocent, right? There's no presumption here. They're told that he's guilty. This is a guilt.
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this guy's guilty.
Yeah, the judge will certainly announce that in his preliminary instructions, that this case has been tried and that he's been adjudicated guilty of first-degree murder by this court. This particular judge that's on the screen now has adjudicated him guilty of first-degree murder, and the only thing left is to determine whether or not a death penalty should be referred to the court, and then the court in turn can issue what we always see as a very serious, lengthy, detailed memorandum supporting whatever decision the court decides.
All right, Jay Hebert, great to see you. Thanks for helping us out tonight. As always, we appreciate it.
Always good to see you, Vinny. Have a good one.
All right, let's check the calendar, folks. We got a motion hearing on May 13th coming up, and then the penalty phase of the trial set to begin June 7th. But as Jay said, first you got to pick a jury, right? They're not going to presume him innocent because he's not. He's guilty. He's a killer. He's a murderer. The question is life or death for Andre Warner. We'll keep you up to date.